Good morning mga katribu. Welcome
morning.
to another episode of Straight Talk. I am Gigi, Arcilla.
And I'm Chito, Lozada. We have our guest today.
Yes, this morning we have our guest, a representative of the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity. He is representing Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. of OPAPRU. Welcome to Straight Talk, Director of Communications and Public Affairs Services, Darwin Wee.
No?
Hi,
Maraming
Darwin.
salamat for inviting us on behalf of Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., Miss Gigi, Sir Chito. Maraming salamat. And good morning to our viewers, no? Kasi Facebook pala to, no? At we are celebrating the National Peace Consciousness Month this month. So,
This month.
Happy Peace Month.
Happy Peace Month.
And that peace should be celebrated like, whole year round. No? It's not just for this month.
So it's the whole of government that's celebrating the month.
Yes, it's under a EO, no? Signed by, I think as early as the time of FBR, tapos GMA, and all. So, kasi by September, kasi ang daming milestones eh. This is the time that we signed the 1996 Final Peace Agreement. This was
Correct,
also the
yes.
time when we signed the SIPAT agreement sa our Cordillerans brothers and sisters in 1986.
Ano ibig sabihin ng sipat?
SIPAT is a place wherein because in our constitutions, it says that there shall be two autonomous regions in the country. So it should be one in the Bangsamoro area, Muslim, Mindanao, and one in the Cordilleras. So ngayon, what we have now is the BARM itself, no? Pero for the Cordillerans, that's what we're going to push for under this administration, for them to have their own autonomy.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, Darwin. There was, during the term of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, the government signed, he signed Executive Order 158. And I just want to know what difference or what changes had this EO regarding the peace process. What changes has it introduced?
Well, one thing, it expand our mandates, no? Kasi dati we are just focusing a government agency that is tasked basically to negotiate political settlements among rebel groups, no? But beyond that, you have to build a constituency that supports the peace process, because peace is very broad, no? It's not just the absence of armed conflict, but you have a constituency that can create that conducive environment of peace, wherein peace negotiation, the implementation of the peace agreement can flourish until we fully implement what we have agreed. So, it now, part of which is really to create that reconciliation and unity. Hindi lang more on the peace works that we are doing. But ever since naman, we are already doing that eh. And during the time of PRD, when he appointed Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. as his Presidential Peace Advisor, it is the first time when we saw that document that says that you're being appointed as Presidential Advisor on Peace, tapos merong dalawang words, reconciliation and unity. Before kasi, ang nakalagay lang, Presidential Peace Advisor or Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process. So ngayon, our office needs to sync because our office supports whoever the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity. So we have to align on it. So last December, PRD already signed that EO, expanded. So our role more now is more on integrator, no? So we function as, parang sinasabi nga ni Secretary Galvez, we are like a one-stop shop for all government agencies that are implementing the peace agreements, such as TESDA, DSWD, DA. So we have a separate EOs for the Bangsamoro. The EO for the Bangsamoro is EO 79, no? Then you have also an EO for NTF-ELCA, the whole of government approach. We are partner as a cluster member, as a co-chair sa localized peace engagement. So it's more on that, the policy direction. So yun yung role ng ahensya ngayon.
So speaking of the Bangsamoro,
Yes.
you mentioned a while ago. So what are the updates on the Bangsamoro peace process? Especially now na medyo nasa limelight because of the recent results of the plebiscite.
Oo. For a start, no, the Bangsamoro peace process began during the time of Ferdinand Marcos Sr., no, President. No. I think it was when they were able to sign the Tripoli Agreement in 1976. Which is actually parang the DNA of the succeeding peace agreements. Because a peace agreement is not perfect naman na one time, big time meron ka na. It's actually an evolution of the agreements, no? And nakadepende sa time ng tao. So the Tripoli Agreement parang forms part as the DNA of the succeeding agreement towards 1996 peace agreement. Lesson learned from the 1996 peace agreement to from the Tripoli, we have the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, which was signed during the time of Pinoy, no? That was 2014. And during the time of PRD, what he did is to convert the peace agreements into a legal foundation that will implement that agreement. Kasi the peace agreement is a paper that cannot be implementable if you don't have a law on it. So he really pushed through with the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Hence, the creation of the BARM. So, yun yung time ni PRD, and we commenced the decommissioning process, or what we call the normalization track. Kasi you have the political track, which is the creation of the BARM, the passage of the codes, yung mismong bahay, no? Creation of the parliament. On the other hand, you also have the normalization track, which you have to ensure that communities are being rehabilitated. Former combatants are being transformed into, hindi na sila armed personnel, but transform them into a peaceful and productive citizen. So, in other words, trying to mainstream them. So, fast forward, yun yung ginawa ni PRD is to implement the peace agreement. Okay? Now, this time, under the Marcos Jr. administration, what we're trying to look here is to already complete the implementation of all the signed peace agreements in the Bangsamoro. So, you have parang a full circle, no? The peace process started with his father. Succeeding administration signed, negotiated, and signed the peace agreements. Time ni PRD to implement the peace agreement. No? Now, going here kay Bongbong Marcos Jr., President Bongbong Marcos Jr., is really to complete the implementation of the peace agreement, to deliver all what we have agreed in the peace table. So now, recently, this is for the first time when he won as the president, visit niya ngayon sa BARM area. No? It was one historic and as well milestone. Why? Because he implemented the law to extend the transition government. So, one, he appointed new members. No? And these new 80 members comprises with yung sinasabi natin, inclusiveness. No? So, before kasi, ayaw nila Nurmiswari mag-join dyan eh. Kasi sinasabi nila,
how would you treat MNLF faction?
yes, it takes years. to really gain their trust.
But to complete the peace process, you have to integrate also the MNLF and
Yes.
complete the Tripoli agreement.
Correct. From Tripoli, and you have the 1996, and you have the review process of the 1996 peace agreement, which took us 9 years. And we were there in Jeddah. And part of the result of that, the result of the Tripoli, the tripartite review process, nakalagay doon na they will support a passage of a new law. Whatever is that. That time, it might be the Bangsamoro Basic Law, but now it's the BOL. So what we're seeing here, kahit nag-faction sila into groups, but now, you see them working together already. For Merli, ayaw nila Nur na sumama. But now, you have their children there. And so what we are saying here, from Marcos Sr. and the Marcos Jr., trying to fix the full cycle of the Bangsamoro. And you also see the new generation of Bangsamoro leaders, yung mga anak nila, doing away with violence na. Armed conflict right now is no longer the name of the game. The battle right now is in the parliament on how to come up with a very good laws. And in fact, they have to pass laws right now. Yung mga basic codes, no? Electoral, I think, and among the rest. But the point is, kailangan nila ipasa yung electoral code. Kasi by 2025, sinabi ni Presidente Marcos, wala na tayong extension, ha? I don't want to point now. By 2025, there shall be an election in the Bangsamoro. But it's the will of the people. No? So wala naka-appointment. So ito ngayon, in-extend lang yung transition government, yung interim. So what happened last week was very historic and as well as milestone. So you see the unification of the Bangsamoro leaders. Dati hindi nagkikita ng eye to eye sila Murad tsaka si Nurmiswari.
No.
But right now, they embrace, they shook their hands. It's really the call of unity yung during the election. I think nagbanwagon. So, how do you articulate your unity in terms of the peace process? What happened last week is one of the indication and one of the results of that call of unity. So, towards national healing and reconciliation.
Ang galing ni Director Darwin kasi hindi ko pa tinatanong, sinagot na niya. So my question was supposed to be, how is the historic, ang galing niyang reading my mind. So question ko sana is, how was the historic inauguration of the new BTA?
I mean, some were very teary-eyed, no? Because they never thought that one day Nurmiswari, Murad, and even Sema, and even the President will sit side by side. And naka-holding hands pa eh. I mean, it only shows they do away with their differences, personal ba, or ideological, but they have a common vision. It's really to advance the welfare of the Bangsamoro people. So right now, you are seeing a new generation. Yung mga technocrats na to itong mga new generation sa Bangsamoro So, now pushing for the betterment of the Bangsamoro people, no? So, passing laws. So, doon na sila sa parliament ang ngayon, for the lack of better term, yung debate, yung gera, hindi na yung gera na usual, but more on try to craft a law, no? Kasi ang BOL provided them a lot of powers. They have a fiscal autonomy, which wala yan dati. A fiscal autonomy, I mean, yun yung basic na reklamo How can you say that we are a genuine autonomy wherein every year we have to come here in Manila and we have to beg for our funds? So fiscal autonomy gives them that power to really govern their ancestral land and homeland. So we are already there, no? And hopefully within the term of Bongbong Marcos, we will sign the exit agreement.
Okay.
Exit agreement.
What does an exit agreement mean?
An exit agreement says that both parties already fulfilled their obligation.
Okay. So does that mean the government would be, out of hands off?
Hindi, tuloy-tuloy pa rin, no? Kasi there are there are provisions in the peace agreement na hindi mo naman pwede i-box into 2 years, 3 years. For example, transitional justice. It will take long. Pero may mga substantial points na pwede mo na like how many combatants have already been transformed, mga weapons that were put beyond use. So those are the things. So ang yardstick dyan, nag-uusap ang ating i-implementing panels. No longer negotiating panels. Implementing. Because they are now implementing. And we have also a third party which oversee kung, tama na ba, ilang porsyento na. This is to prevent that cycle of nasasabihin, I think lessons of the past, yung 1996 Peace Agreement. Every year nagbabangayan. Hindi niya pa naibigay Hindi naibigay na namin. Hence, we have the review process of the 1996 Peace Agreement, which took us 9 years. Just imagine that. We ended that review process lang in January 2016, prior to the election. And one of the results there, it shows na kailangan na meron talagang batas. Kasi during that time yata ni ERAP, nag-lapse into law lang yung law for the arm. At hindi rin yung sinuport ng mga Bangsamoro. But this one, the BOL, it's really, they're the ones who drafted that law.
And the new law that is being crafted, what is that an extension of the BOL, or would that be a entirely new?
The law is already there, the BOL.
So there's I see.
Kasi you have a peace agreement, how will you implement the peace agreement? Then craft a law for you to implement it, to mandate government agencies, the LGUs, to really implement what we have been agreed. No? Kasi medyo madugo yung Bangsamoro. Then for this year, we are eyeing to help and push forward the creation also of the Cordillera Autonomous Region. Kasi meron na sa BARM, and remember, twice na tayo nag-plebiscite doon. Hindi nga nanalo. I think it's more on just to explain to the people. Kasi under the Constitution, ang sabi ng Constitution, there shall be 2. And it is the trabaho ng national government to ensure na kung anong nakasulat doon sa Constitution, you have to do it. Now, we are going to support them.
So do you have a timeline for that to realize na
Well, mga broad stroke, kasi last week we were in Baguio, specifically in Mount Data, sa mountain province na to. This is where they signed the SIPAT time pa nila Cory 1986. We were there and we commemorate and we celebrate the 36th anniversary. And ang centerpiece doon is really to push forward for the creation of the autonomy law. I think meron ng bill ngayon I think pinasa nila ngayon sa lower house. And hopefully mag-snowball to. At the end of the day, it should be their aspiration The people should own this Kasi makikita nila ang benefits if you're an autonomy compare being administrative lang sila ngayon So, much less, mas lesser yun
Magiging parang na rin, Bangsamoro.
And partly, it can be patterned to the Bangsamoro. Kasi itong Bangsamoro, we can get a lot of lessons here.
So, are you looking at, before, within 6 years?
Yun. Yun yung target. So, kailan ba ang national presidential election?
2028.
Siguro by that time, they can have their first election in the Cordillera Autonomous
But,
Region.
looking at yung developments sa Bangsamoro, did it take them like 6 years as well?
Yeah.
Parang more. It took
Kasi
them
for the
more.
Bangsamoro, kasi when the CAB was signed in 2014, meron na kasing version yung BBL President Pinoy created a commission to draft the basic law. Ang tawag pa doon, Bangsamoro Basic Law.
BBL.
And unfortunately, Mama Sapano happened. So there was a national outcry and all. So hindi na ipasa nung 2015 and towards 2016. And that time kasi, election nagpepwestuhan yung mga kandidato, mga politician, at sino yung medyo kontrabida, talagang they will use that line to throw against the previous administration. But fast forward, ginawa naman ng paraan ni PRD at pasa. Kaya nga, based on the lessons in the Bangsamoro, we can apply it sa Cordillera. Mga missteps that we can already prevent. Diba? So, yun, siguro, there can be pattern, meron din sila fiscal autonomy, etc. No? If they want a parliamentary form, why not? Kung anong gusto nila. Kasi it's at the end of the day, kung ano ang aspiration ng mga tao nito, no? To chart their own destiny.
But same level ng challenges. You know, you expect the same level of challenges, you know, working on the
There are
autonomy.
some, but I think, ang feeling ko lang this is my personal mas less siya kasi sa Bangsamoro kasi, meron kang contiguous area na yung may mga neighboring LGUs parang ayaw talaga. Like in my birthplace, Zamboanga, ayaw talaga to be part ng Bangsamoro. So, you have that resistance. Pero sa Cordillera, I mean, demarcated na eh. Ano ba to? Abra, Benguet. Meron na yan So, all they have to do is just to pass the bill or pass the law and check on it kung ano bang mga kulang pa doon na pwede i-replicate na meron na ngayon sa Bangsamoro. So, it's a working in progress. So, we will engage them. Kasi sinabi ni Secretary Galvez when we were there, sasabi niya, let's push for this. Kasi yun ang sabi ng Constitution at yun yung gusto ng taong bayan. Siguro may failure lang ng dalawang plebiscito doon. Siguro hindi lang talaga na, I'm not sure, no, na explain well kung ano ba ang magiging itsura ng autonomy. Ano ba ang magiging benepisyo ko pag autonomiya na tayo. Yung mga ganun.
Agree.
Who do you engage with sa Cordillera? Like in
NEDA,
Bangsamoro?
like the NEDA, the LGUs, the governors, grabe na sila. And the civil society there is very maingay na sila, no? So what they're doing right now, they're already going sa mga barangay to really explain kung ano ang magiging benepisyo ng if we will become an autonomy. Kasi meron ng bill All they have to do is just to explain the bill.
So, we have a very interesting discussion, but we have to pause for a while.
Yeah, we'll know more from Director Darwin
Correct.
when Straight Talk returns.
Sa likod ng aming Be updated sa news and happenings katribu, hatid ng Daily Tribune sa inyo ang mga balitang napapanahon sa loob at labas ng bansa. Kami na ang bahala sa paghahatid sa inyo ng mga latest and reliable news. We got you covered sa programang Tribune News on Q. Mapapanood mula umaga hanggang gabi, Lunes hanggang Biyernes sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Mga impormasyong direktang makukuha mula sa sources at diretsahang usapan. Yan ang atid namin sa inyo sa programang Straight Talk. Samahan nyo kami sa makabuluhang talakayan live tuwing Martes alas 10 ng umaga sa official Facebook page ng Daily Tribune at Tribune Now on YouTube.
So we're back. Gigi.
Welcome back to Straight Talk. And we are still with Director Darwin Wee. And before the break, we were talking about the possibility, the timeline of
The decommissioning process.
the autonomy of the Cordillera, replicating what happened to the Bangsamoro. So, Director Darwin.
Yes.
Yeah. So during the break, we were talking about decommissioning. So I would have to ask you, ano ba yung updates on the decommissioning? I learned that this is the third phase. Foremost, what is decommissioning? Para mas maintindihan ng ating mga taga-subaybay.
Under the comprehensive, now we are talking under the context of the Bangsamoro peace process, no? So under the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, you have two tracks there, one political track and one normalization track. The political track is the passage of the law, the creation of the BARM, the creation of the parliamentary form of government, etc. Yun. Yung isang track, it's really to normalize the situation on the ground because of years of, armed conflict, guerra, and all. Hence, you have the term normalization track. Normalization track consists a lot of several components. No? Number one component doon is the security. And part of the security is to decommission former combatants of the MILF. The idea there is that since they have already the peace agreement and the political empowerment, kasi yun yung talaga at the heart of the conflict, is really for them to have more voice and and their control over their Bangsamoro homeland. Since the BOL already provides that, and as well as the peace agreement, so now is the time for you to change from armed struggle to another struggle, is to really to transform yourself from being a former combatants into a productive civilian. Hence, part of the process is to decommission 40,000 roughly MILF former combatants, and as well as their weapon. So their weapon is gradual by phases. So we are now in the third phase. So based on the data that we have, we already decommissioned roughly 19,000, more than 19,000 MILF combatants. No? So the phase 1 started way back in 2015, time to ni Pinoy. Then kinontinue ni PRRD. And now, under the Marcos administration, we expect to decommission another 5,500 in the latter part of this month. And as well as nasa roughly 2,000, if I'm not mistaken, weapons that to be put beyond use.
So if
Beyond
if
use.
19 yung na-decommission na,
meron pa.
plus
Marami pa.
another 5 this month, so that's going to be 24,000. So we're left with 36,000.
36.
36. I no. 16,000. So we're left with 16.
Yes.
So are we looking, so yung 16 na yun na naiiwan pa, mga kailan mako-complete yung 40,000?
Yeah, both the implementing panels of the government and the MLF wants to fast track this, no? Siguro continuing naman to eh. Siguro I am not sure of their timeline right now, but the point is before the signing of the exit agreement, matapos na to. Kasi remember, part of the normalization track, isa lang ang decommissioning sa isang component, which is security. And you have other components there, socio-economic, transitional justice, confidence building. Yung part of the confidence building is yung we don't call it integration, but it's really to provide them the chance to be part of the PNP. And in fact, last time we had an exam for about 11,000 yata, take ng exam eh. And, I am not just sure kung ilan yung nakapasa doon, but it gives them parang 3,000 yata sa MI na accommodate, no. But they have to take the exam. Tapos na waiver lang some yung educational kasi pwede pa sila mag-aral. I think a portion of the height, I am not very sure. But the point is they are given the chance to serve now, being a patrolman and patrol woman, no. And not just for the MI, but also to include the MNLF. Kasi sa another, in parallel, if we have a decommissioning process sa MI, we also have a transformation process sa MNLF. Kasi remember, in 1996 peace agreement, we don't have normalization track that time. What we only have is to integrate them. ang parang strength yata dati ng MNLF is for about 14,000. And na-integrate lang sa PNP and AFP is about 7,000. And where are the rest? Yung
Where are the
7,000.
rest? Oh.
Kasi armado pa rin. And you have the tendency like sa Bangladesh and all. So part of which the peace agreement now is kung may normalization track ang MI, we also have the transformation process sa MNL. To which Secretary Galvez just went to Sulu over the weekend, no? To provide a information drive kung paano magiging proseso ng transformation program. So,
Livelihood kasama doon
ganon.
sa
Kasama po yan. And even yung we are not just transforming people here or the combatants, but they're also families to also include their communities. So you have to change that from being a camp into a peaceful and resilient communities. So tatanggalin mo talaga yung mindset ng armed struggle and all. Because there is no need for that. You have already the bar there. And you can, kasi dati nagrebelde lang dahil walang boses.
Yeah.
And tendency, shortcut ka ngayon, armed struggle para mapakinggan ka ng national. But you are now given that autonomy with much power to govern over your ancestral homeland. So, what's the use of that?
Yeah. I agree.
Labanan ngayon yung to fine-tune the law, how to, ganun na eh. We already, parang, and in fact, itong mga anak nila Durmiswari, anak ni Hashim Salamat, itong mga leaders ng Bangsamoro struggle, are now saying na, the time for the armed struggle is no longer.
So it's basically a new generation.
Correct. And part sila ngayon sa bagong composition ng BTA. Ito yung ginawa ni President Bongbong Marcos. It's really to ensure that all of them are there. It should be inclusive. No one is parang left behind in this process. And you have a new generation na parang iba na ang tingin. So when you fight for our struggle, no longer in the battles of guns.
Yeah.
Can you really separate former rebel from his rifle or his armaments?
Well, it takes a process.
Yeah.
It takes a process. Kaya pumapasok
Iba rin
dyan
yung
yung
thinking nung
Pumapasok dyan yung process ng healing. Kasi aside from yung gera or hidwaan ng rebelde tsaka ng national government, meron pa rin mga rido, mga family feuds and all. That's why part of the normalization track sa security component, meron doon yung for the creation of joint policing eh. So it's pero lang to, parang interim while you are being the commission, you have to ensure that your communities are also safe. So it's a composition of PNP, AFP, and the MILF guarding your communities. Kasi volatile pa.
Oo.
Kasi gano'n naman eh. Pero ang sabi nga ng former chief negotiator, former chief negotiator Professor Miriam Coronel, sabi pa niya, usually daw, ang peace agreement, pag na-sign mo yan, mga less than 10 years, may mag-challenge talaga. Gigiba. No? Pero what we are seeing right now, in Bangsamoro, hindi naman siya perfect, but we are there. May mga konting delays, but we are there. We are achieving milestone upon milestone. And what happened last week is very historic. That you will see them in one roof, yung mga former foes na hindi nag-uusap, mga anak. Itong mga anak kayo, they're trying to end that cycle of animosity. Kung ano mang hidwaan ng mga tatay nila. But in our generation, we should stop this kasi hindi na siya
So, curious lang ako. We were talking about numbers. You said 40,000 yung ide-decommission. Do you think madadagdagan pa to? The numbers will increase. I mean, towards this, the implementation of the agreement. So, are you expecting more? to be added to the list of...
I think na peg na siya eh. I think during the negotiation pala na clear na.
alright.
Ayan eh. So na peg na. Kasi when you do a negotiation, dapat hindi ka na nagre-recruit.
Alright.
O, diba?
Alright.
Kasi we are already here. And upon the signing of the peace agreement, it's clear already, there's no need for you to recruit.
Yeah.
Magre-recruit ka ngayon if you're going to transform your organization into a political organization. That's what the MNLF is doing. That's what the MNLF is doing. For them to win, to have a seat in the parliament, you are no longer parang a revolutionary group na. It's a political party na ngayon.
Yeah.
Winning the hearts and minds of the people. Sa akin pa kanina, the Presidente, how can you ensure that you can win in the election? Isa lang yan, you have to perform. By performing your duty and task, and the people will feel the dividends of your good governance. Not just good governance ang battle cry nila doon eh, but moral governance.
So good moral.
Moral talaga eh. Mas mabigat eh.
Okay.
Kasi pag moral talagang, di ba, it's the morality and all. Hindi lang siya good governance.
So merong 3 taon.
Yeah.
3 years to do that.
They have to.
Yeah,
Three
because
years.
2025.
They have to pass the electoral codes kung hindi man kaya this year, at least first quarter of next year.
Yeah, but the election will have to be...
Oh, kasi kailangan mo pa yung ipa-vet sa COMELEC and all. At tas yung demarcation ng mga districts. Ganun pa yun eh.
Maraming process.
Medyo technical.
Alright.
Para by 2025, ready ka na. At kung paano magiging election doon, medyo may pagkaiba eh. Parliamentary sila eh.
Correct.
Actually, tayo lang yata sa East Asia ang hindi parliamentary. Kasi we really follow the presidential... So yun,
So
yes.
we're talking of I want to touch on the other,
Yes.
the more harder portion of the peace
Peace
process.
engagement.
Peace engagement.
So kasi naman, ang
Yung
ating
mga
peace naman, it's
revolutionary,
not just,
ano.
with the Bangsamoro.
Correct.
So there are other groups that we have to engage with. So,
I want to get an update regarding the communist rebel negotiations.
Yeah.
Are there any?
Alright. As a background or context to this, rewind muna tayo. At least sa time ni PRD. When he was the president, talagang hopeful lahat that we can already strike a peace deal with
parang
communist
malapit na.
movement. However, unfortunately, while we negotiated peace in the Netherlands, continuing pa rin yung harassment and mas lumalaki yung mga, hindi ko alam kung ano ba tawag nila, yung mga ground, parang in the military you call it the brigade and all. I'm not sure how
guerrilla fronts.
Guerrilla
Yun,
fronts.
may gano'n na pattern. Every time we engage them in a national peace negotiation, mas lalo lumalaki. Tumataas din yung harassment. And in fact, may namatay na nga na bata and also isang ambush. I think somewhere in Davao del Norte yata yun. If I'm not mistaken. Kaya, President Duterte that time terminated the talks because of their insincerity.
Then came the localized negotiations.
So sabi ni President, how can we really address the root causes of this conflict, no? So when he was presented by the idea of the LCAC, that's EO70, di ba? Ang sinabi ni Presidente doon, very clear eh. And he wrote it sa draft, good governance.
Good governance.
Correct.
So, you address the ills of the society kasi good governance both ways eh. We are not just addressing the root causes, but you're also trying to address the LGUs, you have to empower them for them to be really effective on the ground. So fast forward, there's already that cluster. So how can we engage them? So they created that cluster, they call it localized peace engagement. And us, as the OPAPRU Act, as co-chair along with the DILG, because it deals with the LGU. And remember, si Pat, And our peace agreement with the Alex Bongkayaw Brigade, no? Or what they call themselves is Kapatiran right now. It's actually an offshoot of what localized peace agreement can do. You really don't have to go outside the country and talk to them. I mean, engage them locally. And it has proven effective. Ang sabi, based on our data, we have roughly 14 localized peace engagement ngayon ongoing.
1-4.
1-4, no? So, one of these are, and at least roughly 1,627 former rebels have already been provided with social insurances, no? And very particularly in Zamboanga Peninsula, kasi during at the height of the negotiation, ang taas, we have roughly 6 guerrilla fronts there, or 7 pa nga eh. But right now, yung 6 na yun, na-dismantled na yun eh. And yung isa, parang nasa 34 na lang yata yung member. Kasi, we engage the community, the LGUs, the church, the civil society, engage with them and talk to them. How can we help address this problem? So, kaya siya dahan-dahan na dismantle. So, what we're saying here, the only way for us to really solve the problem with the communist insurgency is to engage them in the local peace dialogue. Direct na. Hindi na kailangan yan.
Yeah.
Kasi may mga peculiarities rin eh. Iba't ibang area, may mga needs na hindi naman pwede sa ibang area. So that's how we strengthen it. Engage more with the LGUs, with the civil society, and all. So, not just a full of government, but full of national engagement.
Pati private, the civil society.
Kasi at the end of the day, they will also benefit from this.
Yeah.
Diba? To usher more businesses, wala ka ng harassment doon, hindi na yung sinusunog ng mga traktora mo and all.
So Darwin, do you see the significance, or don't you see any significance anymore with talking to the group of Joma Season or the other leadership, the rebel movement?
Yeah, the policy of this administration, in fact, even during the previous administration, is really to push forward with the localized peace engagement. Kasi meron ka ng connect sa ground eh. If you're going there, kasi nagne-negotiate ka doon, tapos may mga harassment naman.
Parang
So
walang
you will see mayroong disconnect.
disconnect.
I mean, why do we have to engage them? I mean, engage them directly on the ground.
Before we take a break, let me just throw you this question. So what are the specific directives of President Marcos on the peace process, on the peace talks?
All right. So, under this administration, ang pinaka-bottom line dyan is that we are already done with some of the peace negotiations. We have already signed the peace agreement. Under this administration, we have 5-point peace, reconciliation, and unity agenda. Just let me read that, no, para hindi ako magkakamali. So, the 5 is the first, is the completion of peace agreements with the MILF and MNLF towards healing and reconciliation in the Bangsamoro. So, very clear. The agenda 1 is for the Bangsamoro. It's the completion of the peace agreements, no? The implementation of the peace agreements for us to achieve that healing and reconciliation in the Bangsamoro.
Correct.
2, ending of local communist armed conflict by expanding the transformation programs for local conflict peace process. So, while we engage them in a localized peace dialogues, we also already transform. Gaya lang ng ginawa natin sa MI, may commissioning process, meron din po ganun sa former combatants ng communist movement. No? Then number 3, completion and sustainment of the gains of the signed peace agreements with with the RPM, RPA, ABB, and the CBA, CPLA. So both, and yung first yun sa kapatiran, they're basically in eastern part of Visayas. And yung CPLA, yun na yung sa Cordillera. Since we have already the peace agreement with them, it's just, again, just like the Bangsamoro, it's the completion and to sustain the gains that we have already achieved. And number 4, enhancement of the resilience for peace communities, no. Dito ang pumapasok yung constituency building. You need to get the support of the people for them to help create that environment of peace wherein the peace process can flourish. So dito na yung kasama yung mga CSPP guidebook na ginagawa natin, CSPP workshop. I just want to insert yung ni-launch na natin. No? For Government Information Officer, we created a conflict-sensitive and peace-promoting guidebook for government communicators. Kasi remember, in the private media, kayo no, when I was also a journalist that time, I was already parang exposed by the concept of peace journalism. Meron pang conflict-sensitive journalism. Meron pang solution-based journalism. When I joined the government, ba't ang gobyerno walang ganun? And sino ba ang ahensya ng gobyerno na may expertise on conflict-sensitive and peace-promoting? Walang iba, kundi kami. Kasi meron na kaming CSPP guidebook for government planners. Ang pinaka-shortcut doon, we train them on CSPP para, for example, merong project si Mayor about bridge. Instead of creating conflict, kasi may mga time kasi, may mga gano'n na mga proyekto na di-displace yung mga tao dahil mag-put up ka ng road project, sasabihin ng LGU, this is for the development. Pero meron pa rin conflict. So what we're trying to help them on that, when you come up with a planning, your development plan, it should be CSPP. Meron kang peace lens. So the same thing in government communicators. So sa private media kasi, how can you say that your article follows the principle of peace journalism? Kasi after you read the article, hindi lang galit. Kasi paminsan ganun corrupt talaga to siya, Hindi lang hanggang doon. But it encourages you to think, how can I also solve kaya to? Because the article provides not just the two sides of the story, but getting all sides of the story, focusing on what could be the possible solution to this. Like so that's toward peace journalism. Yun yung na-learn ko dahil sa mga workshop and all.
Civic journalism.
Yeah, yung mga doon. I'm pretty sure Daily Tribune is really following that. Yeah. So then lastly, and ito na nga, inunahan ko ng sarili ko pala. Yung lastly, the enhancement of delivery of CSPP compliant socio-economic intervention in addressing the key drivers of conflict through convergence and completion in support of the peace process. Ito yung pamana. Hindi lang siya usual socio-economic program, pero meron siyang peace lens. Pumapasok siya sa mga areas at talagang bugbog sa gera. So, meron ka mga proyekto dyan na to de-escalate the conflict. To bring down the level of hatred, to bring down the level of animosity. Hindi lang siya usual na naglagay ka ng solar panel and all. Meron siyang peace lens.
Development project talaga.
Yeah, development project with peace lens. Na it encourage the community to talk and have the dialogue.
So,
ko, di ba?
Okay, so let's take a break.
So, Straight Talk will be back after this
after a few reminders.
Mga impormasyong direktang makukuha mula sa sources at diretsahang usapan. Yan ang atid namin sa inyo sa programang Straight Talk. Samahan nyo kami sa makabuluhang talakayan live tuwing Martes alas 10 ng umaga sa official Facebook page ng Daily Tribune at Tribune Now on YouTube. Be updated sa news and happenings katribu. Hatid ng Daily Tribune sa inyo ang mga balitang napapanahon sa loob at labas ng bansa. Kami na ang bahala sa paghahatid sa inyo ng mga latest and reliable news. We got you covered sa programa.
Welcome back to Straight Talk. We are still with Director Darwin Wee, and before we took the break, we were talking about the 5-point peace agenda.
Correct.
So, malapit na tayo mag-wrap up, Director
Yes,
Darwin,
yes.
and mukhang kulang ang ating oras. There's so much to talk about peace.
Yes.
So, ano ang mga developments ngayon sa ibang peace tables?
Okay. So, well, we already talked much more on the Bangsamoro. We talked on the Cordillera, the communist insurgency. Ang hindi ko lang yata na-touch yung sa kapatiran mostly, no? So, what we're doing is also yung transformation from...
What is, ano yung kapatiran?
What exactly
For the benefit of our
kasi,
viewers.
Previously, they are part of the communist movement. Kagaya lang ng CPLA, yung Cordillera People's Liberation Army. Pero nagtiwalag yan sila eventually. Kaya yung Alex Bongkayo Brigade and all. So we have a separate peace agreement with them. So ngayon, what we're doing is really to complete the delivery of the peace agreements we signed to them. I think sinabi nung isang party list who was a former leader of that group, ng Kapatiran. Actually, sinabi niya, kwento niya, Dakak is one of the, it's not Dakak, Boracay pala.
Oh, Boracay.
Kasi part yan ng area nila. At that time, hindi makakapasok yung tao dyan dahil gera nga sila But because of the peace agreement, because of the signing of the peace agreement,
It's now a
correct, it's a
tourist destination.
in fact, number 1 yata. So, yun. Then, I would just like also to touch the amnesty, no? Kasi, previously, time ni PRD, he releases a lot of proclamations na kung pwede yung mga amnestiable para mawala na yung mga kaso nyo and you're a born again ba na parang wala kang na-commit na crime, no? So, maraming proclamations yun. That's for the members of the MNLF, MILF, and the Kapatiran, no? And also yung sa communist insurgent. Kinongkor na ng lower house at saka ng Senate. Isang proclamation lang ang hindi pa kinongkor ng Senate. Yun yung for the communist insurgency. So, we are pushing for that now para matuloy na po yung amnesty na commission. So, what we're looking at is that according to Secretary Galvez when he was interviewed last time, he's looking at 8 to 10,000 na pwede i-amnesty na members of the MNLF, MI, RPA, ABB, and sa communist insurgency naman, out of the 26 na...
Mga ano yan? Mga detained?
Hindi,
naman, may
surrender.
Surrender.
we don't use the term surrender. Those who...
Return to the fold of the law.
Yung ganun. Oo. So, and yung may mga kaso na yun, it's based of their political... pero hindi naman kasama yung rape.
Or may mga criminal cases.
Mga heinous crimes, hindi naman kasama.
Alright.
Kasi yung mga iba, amnestiable na Like, si Secretary Galvez mismo is a product of... kasi nagrebelde sila dati, time ni Cory. But he was pardoned by FBR. Just think of it kung hindi siya na-pardon. Diba? Marami kasing mga highly potential na tao. And it's just because of that time, yung ideology nila, hindi...
On both, ano yan, communist, the left wing, tsaka right wing.
So, how many all in all?
Ang tinitignan natin 8 to 10,000 for the
Combined na.
Combined, no? Then around 1,500 initial for the communist insurgency.
So 11.
So mga ganun, mga 11,000.
So are we looking at a certain time that
for the implementation of this? I was earlier informed that we have already submitted our recommendations to the palace kung sinong magiging commissioner. So we are just awaiting for that. And we are also awaiting for the Senate to already concur for that proclamation na maisama na rin yung mga miyembro ng communist insurgency. Kasi sila lang ang hindi pa na isama. Yung lahat, kinongkor na nila kung anong, nung sabi nung former president na i-amnesty nyo na yung MNLF, MI, yung kung sino pa dyan, and maraming series of proclamation. At kinongkor na ng lower house at ng Senate except for the communist insurgency. And we are really pushing for that.
Okay.
Hopefully, you know, in these months to come, magkakaroon na. At magkakaroon na rin yung commission na yun.
Alright.
Yung Amnesty Commission, would that be an interim body? Like, kung, so hindi siya magiging main part ng...
I'm not sure. Parang hindi siya constitutional body. It's a body under the office of the president.
Okay.
Kasi ang OPAPRU ang magiging secretariat. Kasi ang may mga members dyan, mga ex-officio. DOJ, secretary, gano'n din.
May certain period lang yung amnesty. Or
Yes.
ano yan.
There is. Actually, kaya pinapast-track yun. Para ma-avail naman ng mga... Para makakuha ka na ng NBA clearance. Cleared ka na eh. Kasi yung ginawa mo, hindi naman yung gera na crime na usual crime.
It's an issue of ideology.
Ideology.
Yeah.
Political.
So hindi kasama dyan yung mga prisoner na
May
na
mga
drugs
kaso
and-
ng
Mga
murder,
Hindi siya kasama. Mga
yeah,
heinous crimes, hindi siya kasama.
kidnapping. Yeah.
Kidnapping.
So, as we wrap up today's show, let's ask, we have a final question for Director Darwin. So, it's about, actually, timing din yung pag-guest na sa Straight Talk eh.
Correct. Yeah.
Talagang
Because-
straight.
Yeah, because
Hindi ba ito peace talk?
we are celebrating the National
Peace Consciousness Month.
Consciousness Month.
So
ngayon.
can you tell us more about
Yes. For
the
years-
celebration?
For years, we have been celebrating the National Peace Consciousness Month, no? And our theme for this year is pagkakaisa at paghilom. Di ba? Unity
Paghilom.
and healing.
Healing.
Oh, di ba? Isang bansa para sa kapayapaan. So it really bodes well with the call of the President of Unity. So it's not just unity, but towards na national healing. Kasi galing tayo sa isang election na napaka...
Yung
di ba? So,
divisive.
Oo. So for this year, so we already we started the National Peace Consciousness Month nung September 1 in the Quezon City Memorial Circle, wherein we usually bang the peace bell. Kasi yun na yung naging traditional eh. And we have a series of activities sa Peace Month, to which already include yung maiden session ng BTA
No.
at kung ano-ano pa. In fact, as we speak ngayon, we have a peace caravan in Holo Sulu. And Sulu, by the way, right now is really doing well. It's not the Sulu of the past na medyo takot-takot ka. I mean, si Ma'am Gigi and I usually go to Sulu and Tawi-Tawi before. But if you have the chance na pumunta ka doon, ang ganda na.
Oo, talaga.
The seafoods and
Pwede
the
nang
beaches.
Sige.
punta ng mga
meron na nga-
foreign tourists.
Meron mga nightlife doon eh.
Sige.
Yung sa along the sea, shores, ang ganda. And you will see the beautiful sunset
Yeah.
in Sulu. Kasi yung mga unspoiled pa yung mga dagat doon
Hindi
eh.
na siya, very different from
Correct.
the
And-
place na pinupuntahan natin
yes,
before.
And you have a direct flight na ngayon, na re-establish na naman.
Hindi na siya nag-brown out ng mga bandang
When-
early evening.
When I was there, wala naman.
Wala na.
Oo. Pero, di ba dati kasi parang, takot ka makidnap, mabomba.
So how do you assure?
Pero ngayon wala na.
By 5
Tingnan
o'clock,
mo na lang,
kailangan nasa hotel ka na.
di ba ganun dati? Ngayon wala na. Kasi, and even in Zamboanga, when PRRD came into power in 2016, wala nang bomba-bomba sa Zamboanga.
That I can, yeah.
Di ba? Wala nang kidnapping ngayon. May
Doon.
narinig ka pa ba?
Doon.
Doon, di ba? I think the last time we had, prior to Marawi Siege, sunod-sunod yung kidnapping sa mga international boats na dumadaan sa may Sibutu. Sibutu Strait is just like the ano nga yung strait sa may Singapore area, Malaysia. Malacca ba?
Straight.
Oh no, yeah.
Malacca
Oh,
Strait.
so kasi ito yung pinaka maliit na parang kanal na they have to pass by. Ito yung route ng mga boats from Australia, New Zealand, dumadaan dyan eh. So, North Borneo and Tawi-Tawi. It's very thin line. So, ang daming hina-hijack dyan. Pero ngayon, wala na.
Nasa ibang lugar na yung mga kidnapping. So anyway,
Yes.
di ba sa Bulacan, sa Batangas, yeah.
Lipat dito.
Yeah.
Lumipat.
So anyway, so that would be a different topic. So any parting words,
Yes.
Director Darwin?
Yes, again, on behalf of Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., maraming salamat for inviting our agency to talk about peace. You know, peace is not just the job of one agency, but at the end of the day, we all are part of being a stakeholders. So, national healing, national reconciliation should be part in our day-to-day ginagawa, no? And we invite, no, the Filipino people to continue to take the path of peace in our country. Kasi there are more pressing issues that we need to address. No? So, we really need to fast-track the implementation of the peace process. And we cannot achieve that kung walang suporta ng taong bayan.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. And yun,
Yes.
maraming salamat.
It's been our honor, Darwin.
Sir, maraming
Yeah.
salamat.
So,
And-
thank you for joining us.
Thank you so
Okay,
much,
thank you.
Director Darwin, for joining us today. And thank you, mga katribo, for tuning in. Watch Straight Talk live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now on YouTube. Once again, I'm Gigi Arcilla,
I'm Chito Lozada.
and this is Straight Talk.
We would like to thank the following: Araneta, Pag-ibig, SM Supermall, Veteran, Divina Law Offices, ICTSI, Xlog, Globe, Kia, PLDT, Cherry, Tanawan, Prime Homes, RLC, Pure Gold, Meralco, and SM Retail.